Today I'm gonna try to attempt to draw my life. My name is Aaliyah, but people that I'm closest to call me Ali for short. I have a brother called Brian and he's only older than me by a year. Growing up, I was extremely skinny from ages 8 to 11 and I had rib cages showing from my belly from top to bottom. And it turns out I had extremely fast metabolism because I found myself eating everything in the fridge but not gaining any weight. And from this, I was often teased by family members. They'd often ask if I've eaten today or if I even barely eat. And they'd say things like, oh, a cheeseburger would help. How about I have a pizza? How about some McDonald's? Trust me, I've been to McDonald's 1 billion times and I still look like a twig. As the years developed, me and my brother made a strong bond with each other and we often play video games. We gossip about some stupid rumor that was going around the school. And we both knew the rumors weren't true, but they were really hilarious. And I often was the one to stand up to him if I thought something wasn't right. A couple years later, me and my family moved into this flat and I made friends with this neighbor. We'll call her Simone. Me and Simone were good friends along with my brother. Me, Simone and Brian were an unbreakable trio, sort of like a triangle. And hey, fun fact, you know that the triangle is one of the most strongest shape ever. Before the generation had fallen apart, we'd go outside and make all these fun memories like going to the fun fair, going to the park, and basic things such as going shopping for food and snacks seemed so fun because we were doing all that basic stuff while we hung out together. And as they always say, the most boring things can be fun if you do it with the right people. Growing up, I was often looked at as this kid who was dumb and retarded. I didn't know how to read until I got to year 4 and I had really poor grammar at year 6. And as I'm speaking, I probably still have poor grammar, but they weren't as bad as my years in primary school. Trust me. I was often looked down towards people and bullied and referred as this dumb kid with no future, and people told me that I wouldn't be able to make it to secondary school because I was too stupid. Luckily, I had friends who cared about me and my feelings, and they went to a teacher and told them everything that was going on. When I went to secondary school, I was this really shy but confident kid. I loved making friends. Like in my first year of secondary school, in the start of year 7, I made 7 friends. I think it's quite impressive for someone who's just started secondary school. But I was friends with this one girl called Mia. Me and Mia had a lot in common. And she had the same amount of immature energy that I've carried throughout primary school until now. And surprisingly, I've never been bullied because no one knew who I was. No one knew my intentions and what I was like. But at the start of year 8 marked the beginning for my bullying. I was bullied severely. And to this day, I still don't know why they decided to bully me. I'd often isolate myself away from people and avoid contact with people at school. I thought there was something wrong with me and I wasn't the same confident kid as I was in year 7. But when I was at home, I still made the effort to talk to my friends and people online, even if it felt forced. I went to make this TikTok account where I'd post funny videos found on the internet and funny references, and in a couple weeks, it got seen by loads of people, especially my classmates and those who were outside of school. And that's when I became well known, not only for my TikTok account, but for my YouTube channel as well. Damn. And although talking to people felt really forced in real life, I decided to put an end to that in year 9 and actually went out to find a friend group, which me and Mia did find. We made a little friend group where we feel comfortable in sharing our personal lives and what's been going on. And we'd make so much memorable times, but the group slowly fell out in year 10 to 11. And all that remained in the group was me, Mia, and this other girl called Gracie. Or Grace. Yeah. I didn't mind hanging out with such a small group or trio. I preferred it that way anyways, but I still miss my group. We had a lot of things in common and there was a few people that liked me. by which I mean one girl hugged me and kissed me on the cheek and then ran away. You know, normal weird stuff that all of us teens did. Well, some. I was able to cope with secondary school until I was introduced to panic attacks and slight anxiety, but we'll talk about that another time. With my TikTok account being blown with thousands of followers, things were really looking up at school. It started gaining popularity in and out of school, and I went from having 10 followers to tens and thousands of followers. One time I was sitting down in year 10 and a teacher was talking about mock exams for GCSEs and our actual upcoming GCSEs. And I was 15 and we were studying for my English GCSE exams. And out of nowhere, I became overcome with fear. My entire body felt shaky and numb. I can only hear the deep beats of my heart and feel the trembles of my hand as I felt really sick and shortness of breath. Like the world around me felt unreal. I remember walking out of my English class 5 minutes early without saying anything, and luckily I didn't get in trouble for walking out. I remember walking home in complete silence, trapped with myself and my thoughts. And this was my first of many experiences of a panic attack. It felt like a jar filled with glitter. When the jar is shaken, the glitter swirls around, making it hard to see what's inside. The glitter represents the racing thoughts of feeling of anxiety. I was terrified and didn't know it was a panic attack at first, but I even had a couple panic attacks every time someone mentioned the consequences towards failing your GCSEs, which did cause me to have even more anxiety. I was afraid that my anxiety would ruin my process of studying and preparing for my upcoming exams. So one day I decided to force myself to have a panic attack to see if I was able to control and cope with it while trying to do important things such as studying and taking notes of what people were saying. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to give myself a panic attack, which tells me the reason why I have panic attacks in the first place is because I fear and worry for the future. And from that, I've been more cautious about my panic attacks and being able to prevent them from happening. Ultimately, I learned that from billion experiences, you don't have to change who you are to fit in, because to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. I've accepted hanging out in a small group of friends who love me for me, and also accepted anxiety to be a part of my life, because my anxiety is a reminder of where I've been, not where I'm going. I mean, who doesn't have anxiety sometimes? And happy ending, I went to my year 11 prom right at the end of my exams, and I have to say it was one of the best experiences I've experienced in a long time. Prom had given me a chance to unwind, relax, and have fun with my friends. And while others see it as a time to enjoy the music and dance, I see it as a reward for surviving my exams. Thank you so much for all the support y'all have been giving me, and I can't wait where it will take me next.